everybody, it's Mindie and welcome to my first ever toy customizing video. I tried to do something a little bit different and that's that. In today's video, I'll be customizing a bear-based Littlest pet shop to Funtime Freddy from Five Nights at Freddy's sister location. I started by removing the factory paint with nail polish remover because I didn't have acetone and got to work. I started by sculpting the muzzle, the cheeks, and the stomach area. I was going to use the original mold, but I decided otherwise since I want to try sculpting for my very first time. After a couple more tries later, it finally looked decent. Now let's get on with the painting, shall we? Because I can't wait anymore. Using liquitex acrylic paint, I coated the head and the body with thorough rundown of watered down acrylic paint. Even though the head is already white, I still want a couple more layers as well, just to be sure, because I realized that the head isn't actually that white, so I went in later with more white. But for the body though, I'm gonna need a couple more layers just to get it as opaque as the head. And a few more coats and he's finally opaque. Sweet! I'm actually thoroughly surprised because the paint is actually really opaque. I have this other brand that I use frequently and it wasn't as opaque as I wanted it to, and maybe it's because I used a different brand or something, but I don't know, maybe I just lucked out on this one. With a reference picture close by, I started to paint the pink details on the muzzle, the cheeks, around the eyes, and in the ears. The trick to smooth acrylic paint is to water down the paint and doing multiple layers rather than doing one thick one. I've had the problem in the past before where I did the acrylic paint too thick and it just got really thick and muddy and I just got fed up with the project, so I decided to throw the project away. And so I really recommend doing multiple thin layers rather than one thick one just to, well, minimize your insanity. Using a tiny paintbrush and a very delicate hand, I slowly went around the eyes to make a pink ring around it, following the reference. Using the same brush and a slightly darker pink, I went in with the cheeks. Okay, off topic real quick, I was really scared to post this video because I didn't want you guys to judge me on customizing toys. So I was pretty tense when I was gonna upload this video, so I hope you guys don't mind this really weird shift in my channel. And if you guys like it, well, maybe I can do more in the future if you guys wanted to. I mean, I have more of a couple of video ideas in my planner and I wanted to do them, so let me know what you think. While we wait for the paint to fully dry before moving on to the next layer, let's move on to the body, shall we? Using a normal HB pencil, I sketched out where I wanted the colors to go, just to have a plan before diving in head first, and so that I won't mess up too badly. Then I went to town and started coloring. Using the lines as a guide, I carefully followed it to get it as accurate as possible. So you guys might be wondering why I'm doing Funtime Freddy all of a sudden? Well, it's because I already made Bon Bon, Funtime Freddy's hand puppet, into an actual LPS. And that is why I wanted to do Funtime Freddy so bad, because I felt like Bonnie needs a friend. And I've been debating on selling both of these on Etsy, but I'm not sure if I should sell them as a pair or if I should sell them separately. Let me know in the comments, or here's a little poll. Go vote! After a couple more layers, it looked pretty opaque and relatively decent. I'm pretty proud of this. Okay, let's be honest, I've got too tied up coloring the body and I've neglected the face and the ears at this point, so let's went in and color the ears now, shall we? Now let's move on to the eyebrows. Using a small brush and black acrylic paint, I delicately draw on the eyebrows. Keep in mind, I didn't use a pencil for this part because I forgot, and they actually ended up looking fairly symmetrical. As you can see on his right eyebrow, I accidentally dabbed on a little bit of pink on the white part, so I ended up going in with the black and try to cover up my mistakes, if you know what I'm saying. Even though he's an animatronic, his eyebrows still looks on fleek. Switching back to the body now. Man, I'm jumping back and forth a lot, aren't I? Anyway, using silver metallic paint, I painted in between the joints to give it that raw body metally feeling of an animatronic. Using my thinnest brush and my head relatively really close to the project, I carefully painted on the metal parts just to get it as thin and as accurate as possible. Then I paint the metal parts for the tail. Ooh, so cute. I don't know why I decided to do this, but I think it's cute, so let's keep it. Here's what we have so far. Looking pretty decent if I do say so myself. And all we have left is to paint the speakers in his stomach. I guess. I don't really know what you call that thing. Using the same metallic paint, I went in and painted the tummy. Keep in mind that I didn't actually water down this metallic paint. It's because after I watered it down, it actually looks less shiny. I don't know why, but maybe that's just the paint, so I decided just to wing it and just paint it really thick. And it looked really bad, but I fixed it in the end, so it looked okay now, I think. Switching back to the head, I used black acrylic paint to make the animatronic parts down the mouth and around the muzzle. And I also use metallic paint to paint around the ears just for some good animatronic vibe to it. Now for this next step that I wasn't sure if I'm gonna do or not, is to line down the faceplate like in the game so that the face can pop out like a surprise jack-in-the-box. At first I wasn't gonna do it because I want him to look more toy-like and also because I didn't do it on Bonbon. But then a thought occurred to me. Bonbon doesn't even have the lines down his face, so I figured let's just do it on Freddy because, well, why not? And also because I wanted to make it as accurate to the game as possible, and I guess I succeeded. The lines was actually a lot harder to draw than you think. I was confident enough to not use the pencil, and I think that was a mistake. And so the lines doesn't look symmetrical, but in the end I tried to fix it, and it looked pretty okay now, I guess. After blow drying the face and let it dry completely, now we can wet in with the eye whites. Using my trusty HB pencil, I slowly and carefully sketched in where I wanted the pupils and the iris to be. I started from the iris and then worked my way towards the pupil. Freddy's eyes are blue, so I grabbed every blue acrylic paint I have and mixed them together and see what I got in the end. I went in first with the middle tone and then went in with the shadows and the highlights and slowly built up the gradient. Okay, fine. I know I said I was gonna make it as similar to the game as possible, and by doing that I have to give him like really creepy eyes and all, but look at those brown eyes and I couldn't resist. So instead, I make the pupil really small to balance out both parties. But I mean, he does look a little creepy now that I look at it for a little too long. And on the second thought, I should have made his pupils white so that he would be more dead and kind of unlifelike, I guess. But I didn't do that and I couldn't really think of it back then, so oh well. Now time to add in those tiny little pupils. Remember when I said he actually looks kind of creepy? Well, scratch that fact, he looks adorable. For once though, I'm actually really proud of how the face turned out. Considering all the time I spent into it, it's totally worth it. Using more black acrylic paint and a nice fine pointed brush, I gently and ever so slowly paint around the eyes as a signature animatronic look. I wanted to shape the eyes to look wide and 3D, but I decided otherwise since there's a lot going on the face already, so that's something I didn't get to do, which I really wanted to do, so maybe I get to do it in a later future custom? I don't know, maybe. Lastly, I went in with a light blue color to finalize the eyes and seal the deal with a nice shine. I also wanted to add a little bit of shine to the cheeks so that it would look more toy-like, and I actually really liked it. Here's a little close-up of how the face looks so far. I actually really liked how the eyes turned out. And last but not least, I went in with metallic paint and painted the black line so that it looks like there's an endoskeleton hidden in there somewhere. I painted around the muzzle, in the back of the head, and a little bit through the line so that it looks a little bit more convincing, I guess. For a more robotic-y feeling to it, I used black acrylic paint and made horizontal lines next to the metallic paint we laid earlier, so that it created the illusion of the ear being attached to a metal piece that is connected to the head. My original intention was to have a thin metallic vertical line that connected from the head to the ear that further aided the illusion of metal holding up the ears, but it looked pretty awkward from the side, so I scrapped the idea completely. And now our Five Nights at Freddy's sister location Funtime Freddy head is complete! Man, what a mouthful. But now I have a problem. I thought I was done with the custom, but turns out the head over contrasts with the body, and now the body looks incredibly plain compared to the head. I'm gonna have to fix that. So what I did was, using my smallest and thinnest brush, I carefully jazzed up the mechanical parts with some more black to balance it out. Finally time to put his head back on his body. It's really satisfying actually to put the head back on the body now that you've finished the custom. His head does look a little bigger than I thought it would be, probably because of the clay. Well, I hope to fix this problem by adding the bow to it on his chest. Maybe that would balance out the mass, and I hope it looks good in the end. Now that he's assembled, time to add the accessories. I was hoping to use the Littlest Pet Shop top hat that I found the other day, but it turns out that the hat's a little too big for this guy's head, so oh well, scrap that hat, we're gonna have to make a new one. I used Mungyo air dry clay to sculpt this little hat, and it looked pretty well, but it looked kinda wonky, but that's okay. And for the bow, I found this little bow accessory thingy, and I think it looked really cute and has the perfect size, so all I have to do now is just paint it black. Moving on to the top hat itself, I covered it with black acrylic paint and then add some purple details to it following the design of Freddy's real hat. Next, I painted a pink horizontal strip across the hat to match Freddy's top hat in the game. Looked a little rusty, but it's kind of relatively decent. Using liquitex gloss varnish, I glossed the hat and the top hat so that it would look shiny and toy-like. And while we waited for that to dry, let's finish off Freddy now, shall we? Using Mr. Super Clear, I sprayed the LPS for about 5 times, making sure I coated everything, and wait for 30 minutes for that to dry completely. And make sure you spray it in a ventilated area too. Now that we have all the pieces, we can finally finish assembling Freddy! Using any kind of glue I found around the house that has a strong hold to it, I gently squeezed out a bit on his chest and stuck on the bow. Since the bow has this peg behind it, I knew it won't stay as well. After the first layer is dry, carefully add more glue to the peg so that the bond would be a lot stronger and it wouldn't fall off as easy. With the hard part done, build bands of glue around the peg to make sure that it stays in place and it looks secure. And there you have it, a stronghold glue that holds your bow in place. Next, I glued the hat straight onto the head. I was debating on using a rubber band for this one, but I didn't have any clear rubber bands and it would save me a lot of hassle if I just glued it on. I made sure to use a lot of glue so that the hat wouldn't pop off easily, and now we wait for that to dry. Using more of my trusty liquitex gloss varnish, I glossed the eyes, the nose, and the cheeks for a more lifelike and toy feeling. And now he's complete! This custom definitely took me a lot longer than I thought it would, but it's completely worth it. And I hope you guys like how he turned out too, because I may put him on my Etsy and I may sell him for once. I hope you guys liked this video, and as always, thank you everybody so much for watching. I hope you guys have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye bye!